The bright afternoon sunlight streamed through the windows of Admiral Minji Park's office at United Space Force headquarters. She stared at the strange message on her screen for the fifth time. Even after reading it repeatedly, she could hardly believe it. "Play it again," she ordered her eye assistant. The holographic display flickered, showing a being with 4 arms and pale blue skin. Its large eyes blinked rapidly as it spoke in a translation that still sounded mechanical despite Dr. Kim's best efforts. "People of Earth, we are the Luminar Federation. Our worlds burn. Our people die. A terrible enemy called the Drax Empire destroys everything in their path. Our scholars have studied your species for decades. You possess what we lack: adaptability, fighting spirit, and survival instinct beyond any species we know. The stories of human resilience are treated as myths among the stars. We need your help. Without it, we face extinction." Minji turned off the message and looked out her window at Seoul's skyline. 3 weeks ago, this alien craft had appeared in Earth orbit, broadcasting this plea across all frequencies before its pilot died from severe injuries. The ship's technology was beyond anything humans had created. "Admiral Park," her assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Dr. Kim is here." Taho Kim entered, carrying several tablets. His normally neat appearance was disheveled, with dark circles under his eyes suggesting he hadn't slept in days. "Tell me you've learned something useful," Minji said. Taho nodded. "The ship's database is incredible. The Luminar Federation spans hundreds of star systems. They've been at war with the Drax Empire for over 20 years. "And they want us to fight their war?" Minji asked. "It's more complicated than that." Taho placed one of his tablets on her desk. An image appeared showing a star map with 2 different colored areas. The blue is Luminar territory. The red is Drax. Look at how much the red has grown in just 20 years. Minji examined the map. "Why us? We've barely established bases on Mars." "That's the fascinating part," Taho said, his excitement breaking through his exhaustion. "The Luminar and most advanced species evolved in stable environments. They developed technology faster than humans, but lost their adaptability. The Drax are physically superior but rigid in thinking." He swiped to a new screen showing human DNA alongside alien genetic codes. "Humans evolved through countless crises and predator threats. We faced ice ages, plagues, and our own wars. We're uniquely adaptable. According to their data, our brains process fear, create solutions, and take action faster than any known species." Minji frowned. "They want us because we're good at war. They want us because we're survivors. The database has Earth literature they've collected. The Iliad, art of war, stories of human courage. To them, these are like superhero tales." Before Minji could respond, her secure line beeped. "The UN Security Council is ready for your briefing." 20 minutes later, Minji stood before the world's most powerful leaders on a secure video call. Some faces showed skepticism, others fear. "The threat is real," she explained. "Dr. Kim has verified the ship's data. This Drax Empire has conquered 12 advanced civilizations in 2 decades. Their path of expansion will reach our solar system within 5 years." The Russian president shook his head. "With respect, Admiral, this could be a trick. Perhaps this ship was sent to lure us into a trap. The Chinese and Indian space programs confirm the technology is centuries beyond ours," Minji replied. "And the pilot died delivering this message." The American president leaned forward. "What exactly are they asking from us?" "They want fighters, advisors, and our approach to warfare. They offer technology and knowledge in return." "This is absurd," said the British Prime Minister. "We're supposed to send our people to die in a space war." Taho, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "If I may, leaders of Earth, the Drax aren't just conquering. They're eliminating entire species. The ship's records show planets stripped of all life. If they reach Earth, there will be no surrender option." Silence fell across the call. "Dr. Kim has discovered something else," Minji added. The Dracs have a weakness. Their hive-like military structure cannot adapt quickly to unexpected tactics. Humans specialize in the unexpected. Later that night, Minji stood on the roof of the headquarters building, looking at the stars. Tahoe joined her, offering a cup of coffee. "They'll agree," he said quietly. "They're scared, but they'll agree." "How can you be sure?" Minji asked. "Because I've translated more of the database. The Dracs have already sent scouts to our system. One was detected near Jupiter last month." Minji's hand tightened around her cup. "Why didn't you say this during the meeting?" "Because panic won't help us prepare. We need clear heads now." Tahoe pointed to the stars. "Up there, stories about humans are told like legends. Our stubborn will to survive, our creativity in crisis, our ability to form bonds across differences. These are rare gifts in the cosmos." Minji nodded slowly. "Then we have work to do." As they stood in silence, a notification chimed on Minji's device. The UN Security Council had voted. Humanity would join the battle. The cosmos was about to discover that human legends were very real indeed. Lieutenant Commander Chunobli stood straight as the Luminar High Commander examined him and his team. The alien was nearly 7 feet tall with smooth blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the bright lights of the command ship. 6 other high-ranking Luminar officers stood behind our leader, all wearing expressions that Chuno had come to recognize as dismissal, despite their alien features. "These are the warriors from Earth." The High Commander's translator device made his voice sound flat. "They are so small." Junho's team of 12 elite soldiers remained at attention. They had trained for 6 months with the new technology provided by the Luminar, but no amount of training could prepare them for the condescension they now faced. "High Commander Rill," Junho said, "we understand your concern, but my team is ready for combat operations." The tall alien made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Your species has never left its own star system before our arrival. You have no experience with Drax battle tactics." Another Luminar officer stepped forward. "They cannot even wear standard battle armor. We had to modify everything for their small frames." Junho kept his face neutral. "We request a chance to prove ourselves, High Commander." "Very well." Rill turned to a holographic display showing a red planet. Outpost 73 has fallen to Drax forces. They control a communication relay that allows them to monitor our fleet movements in 3 sectors. The image zoomed in on a heavily fortified facility built into a mountain. "We need that relay destroyed, but the defenses are too strong for a direct assault, and the Drax have technology that detects our stealth ships. It is an impossible mission." Shunho studied the display. "We'll take it." Rill's large eyes blinked rapidly. "You misunderstand. I am not offering this mission. I am explaining why we cannot reclaim this sector." With respect, Junho said, "My team specializes in impossible missions. Give us a ship and the necessary intelligence. We'll destroy the relay." Later, aboard the small transport vessel heading toward the Red Planet, Junho briefed his team. Staff Sergeant Zhu Kang, his explosives expert, studied the facility schematics. "Their sensors will detect any approach within 5 miles of the facility," she said. "No way to get close unnoticed." Corporal Hengzu Park, their tech specialist, nodded. "And their jamming field prevents remote detonation of explosives." Junho smiled. "Then we won't approach by ship, and we won't use remote detonation." 20 hours later, Junho and his team trudged across the Red Planet's surface in environmental suits, pulling sleds loaded with equipment. They had landed their ship 15 miles from the facility and continued on foot, beyond the range of Drax sensors. "The Luminar would never try this," Zhu said over the comm. "Their bodies can't handle this much physical strain." "That's our advantage," Juno replied. "The Drax expect attacks based on Luminar capabilities." When they reached the 5-mile sensor perimeter, they stopped and unloaded their equipment. Hangsu set up a small device that projected a holographic map of the area. "The facility draws water from an underground reservoir," Junho explained. There's a maintenance tunnel that runs beneath the sensor grid. It'll be heavily guarded, Lieutenant Min Ha-yoon said. Not as heavily as they guard the sky, Junho replied. They expect attacks from above, not below. 6 hours later, covered in red dust and mud, Junho led his team through narrow maintenance tunnels. They encountered 2 Drax guards, dispatching them silently with combat knives rather than energy weapons that might trigger alarms. When they reached the main facility, Jiwoo placed explosives at key structural points, while Hyung-soo hacked into the facility's network to download intelligence data. 3 minutes until the next guard patrol, Minha whispered, watching the motion sensors. Junho nodded. Everyone out. Now. They retreated through the tunnels, reaching a safe distance just as Jiwoo triggered the manual detonator. The ground shook as explosions tore through the relay station. Back on the Luminar command ship 2 days later, High Commander Rill stared at Junho's team in disbelief. You walked? He asked, his translator struggling to convey his astonishment. Yes, Commander. 15 miles across the surface, then through the water maintenance tunnels. But the temperature on the surface reaches lethal levels during daylight hours. We traveled at night and sheltered during the day, Junho explained. Human bodies can endure more extreme conditions than you might expect. For the first time, Rill looked at the humans with something like respect. Perhaps there is more to your species than we realized. As the meeting concluded, a junior Luminar officer rushed in with an urgent message. Commander, we've intercepted Drax communications. They know about Earth's involvement. They're sending assassins to target human leadership. Rill turned to Junho. Your planet is in danger. Junho's expression hardened. Then we need to warn Earth immediately. It may be too late, the officer said. The assassins departed 3 days ago. As the human team rushed to contact Earth, word of their impossible mission spread throughout the Luminar fleet. The aliens began to look at their human allies differently, with growing respect, and in some cases, with hope. Meanwhile, aboard a Drax stealth ship approaching Earth, 6 elite assassins prepared for their mission. Their orders were simple: eliminate Admiral Minji Park, Dr. Taho Kim, and any other humans coordinating with the Luminar Federation. The humans had proven themselves more dangerous than anticipated. They would not be underestimated again. Commander Hyori-song walked through the bustling research facility beneath Seoul, where hundreds of Earth's brightest minds worked day and night. 3 months had passed since the Drax assassination attempt on Earth's leadership. The attack had failed thanks to Lieutenant Commander Lee's warning, but it had changed everything. Now humanity was fully committed to the war. Commander Song, you need to see this, called Dr. Jin Soo-yoon, waving her over to his workstation. Hyori approached the table where a disassembled Luminar energy rifle lay in pieces. Next to it sat what looked like a modified version, smaller with additional components attached to its frame. We've increased the power output by 30% while reducing the weight by half, Dr. Yoon explained, lifting the modified weapon. And it can now fire underwater or in vacuum without modification. Hyori took the rifle, testing its weight. The Luminar said this design couldn't be improved. They'd been using the same design for 200 years, Dr. Yoon shrugged. They stopped looking for improvements. Humans never stopped tinkering. This was happening throughout the facility. Earth scientists had taken alien technology and, rather than simply copying it, were reimagining it based on human needs and experiences. Commander, a voice called from across the room. Dr. Taho Kim approached, his face showing excitement despite his obvious exhaustion. The xenolinguistics specialist had expanded his expertise to Drax computer systems. I've been analyzing the Drax neural network fragments we captured, he said. Their entire military operates on a unified command system, like a hive mind, but artificial. We already knew that, Hyori replied. Yes, but I found something new. He showed her a tablet with scrolling code. The system requires perfect synchronization. It's designed for efficiency, not resilience. If we could introduce chaos into their network. Hayari's eyes widened. How do we do that? I'm still working on it, Tahoe admitted. But it's a vulnerability. One the Luminar never discovered because their thinking is too ordered. 2 weeks later, Hayari stood in the war room of the Luminar flagship alongside Admiral Minji Park. The holographic display showed the upcoming battle at Dacius Starbase, a key Drax supply depot. The traditional approach would be a frontal assault with our capital ships, the Luminar tactical officer explained. Which they'll be expecting. Hayari interrupted. She stepped forward and adjusted the display. We propose this instead. The hologram changed to show a new formation. Small, fast human ships would approach from multiple vectors, while Luminar cruisers remained at the edge of the system. This makes no sense, protested a Luminar commander. Your small vessels lack the firepower to breach their defenses. We're not trying to breach them, Hayari explained. We're going to trick them into thinking we are. The battle for Dacius unfolded 2 days later. Human ships darted in and out of sensor range, appearing to attempt suicidal runs before retreating. The Drax defenses adjusted repeatedly, focusing on these apparent threats. From the command deck, Hayari watched as the Drax ships formed a tight defensive formation around the starbase. Now, she ordered. From the far side of the system, 3 Luminar cruisers suddenly appeared. They had been modified with human-designed stealth technology, allowing them to approach undetected while the Drax were distracted. The cruisers launched a devastating barrage against the exposed side of the starbase. Within minutes, the facility was crippled. I don't understand, the Luminar High Commander said afterward. Our stealth systems have never worked against Drax sensors before. We didn't use your stealth systems, Hayari explained. We created new ones based on Earth submarine technology. Different principles entirely. As news of the victory spread, more Luminar commanders requested human tactical advisors. Earth's smaller ships, retrofitted with hybrid technology, began serving throughout the Federation fleet. What had started as a desperate alliance was becoming a true partnership. In a secure lab on the Luminar homeworld, Tahoe Kim worked alongside alien scientists. He had requested access to their largest quantum computers to test his theory about the Drax neural network. The system requires predictability, he explained to the skeptical aliens, but humans specialize in unpredictability. He ran a simulation showing how a specially designed virus could infiltrate the Drax command network. Once inside, it would introduce random commands and contradictory orders, creating the one thing the rigid Drax could not handle: chaos. This could work, admitted one Luminar scientist, but we would need to introduce it directly into their central command node. No one has ever penetrated that deeply into Drax territory. Tahoe smiled. I believe Lieutenant Commander Lee and his team might have some ideas about that. Aboard the Drax Supreme Command vessel, the War Director received troubling reports. 3 more outposts had fallen in the past month, all using tactics never before seen in this war. These humans fight differently, explained his intelligence officer. They do not follow predictable patterns. They adapt their strategies mid-battle. They are primitives from a backwater world, the War Director replied dismissively. Primitives who have destroyed 7 of our bases with minimal losses, countered the officer. They modify our own weapons to use against us. They turn our strengths into weaknesses. The War Director's expression darkened. Then we must eliminate this threat completely. Prepare the planet killer. We will target Earth directly. As plans for this devastating attack moved forward, humanity continued its work, unaware of the approaching danger. In labs and on battlefields across the stars, human ingenuity was changing the course of a war they had only just joined. The question remained whether this adaptation would be enough against an enemy now determined to wipe them from existence. The warning came too late. Earth's deep space sensors detected the Drax Armada only hours before it arrived in the Sol system. 50 warships, including the dreaded Planet Killer, a vessel capable of cracking a world's crust with concentrated energy beams. Admiral Minji Park stood on the bridge of her flagship, the ESS Defender, as reports flooded in. Earth had only 15 combat-ready vessels to meet this threat, along with 7 Luminar ships that had been nearby. They bypassed our forward defenses completely, her tactical officer reported. They must have found a new jump point. Minji's face remained calm, though her heart raced. Alert all ships. Defensive formation Delta. Priority is protecting Earth. The battle began in orbit around Mars. Human and Luminar ships fought with desperate courage, but they were badly outnumbered. The first Drax vessels reached Earth orbit 12 hours later. Then the bombardment began. From his position at the Lunar Defense Base, Commander Chunho Lee watched in horror as energy beams struck major cities across the planet. Seoul, New York, Lagos, Sydney, all suffering direct hits. Emergency channels were flooded with desperate calls for help. "We need to fall back and regroup," urged the Luminar captain beside him. "There are too many." "No," Chunho said firmly. "We stand here. Earth is all we have." In orbit, Admiral Park's fleet was reduced to 7 ships. The Defender's shields were failing, its hull breached in multiple sections. Still, she positioned her vessel between Earth and the approaching planet killer. "Admiral," her first officer said quietly, "the planet killer is charging its main weapon. Our shields won't withstand that blast." Minji nodded. "I know." She opened a channel to all remaining ships. "This is Admiral Park. Fall back to lunar defense positions. Protect the evacuation transports." "Admiral." Her communications officer looked confused. "What about the Defender?" Minji studied the tactical display. The planet killer was positioning itself for a shot that would strike Earth's Pacific Ocean, potentially triggering catastrophic tsunamis across all coastlines. "The Defender stays," she said. "Prepare for ramming speed." Her crew stared in shock, but no one protested. They understood. The massive human flagship, engines straining beyond safe limits, accelerated directly toward the planet killer. Drax point defense weapons pounded the approaching vessel, tearing away chunks of hull. On the planet killer's bridge, the Drax commander ordered evasive action, but too late. The Defender, its reactor deliberately destabilized, crashed into the larger vessel's main weapon array. The explosion was visible from Earth's surface, a new, brief star in the daytime sky. The planet killer, though not destroyed, was crippled, its main weapon rendered useless. More importantly, the Drax attack faltered as their command structure tried to adapt to this unexpected sacrifice. In that moment of confusion, the remaining human and Luminar ships launched a coordinated counterattack. From the lunar base, Chunho watched the battle shift. "They didn't expect us to sacrifice our flagship," he said. "They can't understand why anyone would do that." The Luminar captain's large eyes blinked rapidly, their version of astonishment. "Your admiral chose to die to save others." "She did what any of us would do," Chunho replied. "That's humanity." The battle raged for 3 more days. Earth's cities burned, millions died, but the planet survived. When the last Drax ships retreated, they left behind a wounded world, but not a defeated one. 2 weeks later, the Luminar High Council convened an emergency session. For the first time in their history, they invited a human to address them. Commander Chunho Lee, now the highest-ranking human officer, stood before the assembled aliens. "The sacrifice of Admiral Park and her crew has changed everything," the council leader said. "Such an act is unknown in our history." Another council member spoke. "We have fought the Drax for decades, but we have never. We have always preserved our forces, our ships, our leaders. Humans understand something we do not," a third added. "The value of sacrifice for others." The council leader rose. "The Federation now commits all resources to Earth's defense and reconstruction, and we support your plan, Commander Lee." Chunho bowed slightly. "Thank you." The plan was desperate, perhaps suicidal. Using Dr. Kim's virus, a small team would infiltrate the Drax command world and upload it directly into their central network. But first, they needed to reach a planet no non-Drax had ever set foot on. 1 month later, aboard a captured Drax scout ship, Shunho briefed his team. 6 humans and 2 Luminar who had volunteered despite the near-certain death they faced. "The ship's disguise will get us past their outer defenses," he explained. "After that, we use the maintenance tunnels, just like on the Red Planet." Staff Sergeant Zhu Kang, who had insisted on joining the mission, checked her weapons. "If we succeed, what happens to the Drax? Does this virus kill them?" "No," Juno replied. "It disrupts their command structure, makes coordinated attacks impossible. They'll be vulnerable, but still alive." "And if we fail?" asked one of the Luminar. Junho looked at each team member. "If we fail, Earth will likely be destroyed in their next attack. But we won't fail." As their stolen ship approached the heavily guarded Drax homeworld, Shunho thought of Admiral Park's last message before the Defender made its final charge. "Remember, we fight not because we hate what's before us, but because we love what's behind us." The fate of humanity now rested with 8 individuals infiltrating the heart of enemy territory, carrying a digital virus that might end the war, if they could survive long enough to use it. Smoke filled the narrow maintenance corridor as Commander Chunho Lee and his team pushed forward. They had been on the Drax command world for 36 hours, moving through service tunnels and avoiding patrols. 2 team members were already dead, 1 human and 1 Luminar, killed during an unexpected encounter with security drones. "How much farther?" Ju asked, checking the ammunition in her modified energy pistol. "The central network hub should be through the next section," Junho replied, studying the schematics they had memorized. The remaining Luminar team member, Technician Vel, worked on bypassing the security panel blocking their path. His long fingers moved with surprising speed despite his injuries. "I have it," Vel said as the door slid open. Beyond lay a vast chamber filled with glowing data columns. At its center stood a crystalline structure pulsing with light, the heart of the Drax command network. "Keep them off me," Junho ordered, pulling Dr. Kim's data device from his pack. "I need 3 minutes to upload the virus." As if on cue, alarms began to sound. Drax security forces poured into the chamber from multiple entrances. Zhu and the others formed a defensive perimeter around Chunho as he raced toward the central console. Blaster fire filled the air. One by one, Shunho's team members fell. Zhu took a shot to the leg, but kept fighting. Vel used his body to shield Shunho as they reached the central console. "Now or never," Zhu shouted, firing continuously to keep the Drax at bay. Shunho connected the device to the crystal structure. The interface Dr. Kim had designed began to glow as it established connection with the alien system. Lines of code flowed from the human device into the Drax network. "It's working," Junho said, watching the progress bar advance. A blast struck him in the shoulder, spinning him around. Another hit fell directly in the chest. The Luminar collapsed without a sound. Junho dragged himself back to the console as Zhu fired her last energy cell. The upload reached 100%, just as Drax soldiers surrounded them. "Drop your weapons," ordered the Drax commander. Junho smiled through his pain. Too late. It's done. Throughout the Drax Empire, ships suddenly lost navigation. Weapons systems powered down. Communication networks filled with contradictory orders. The perfectly synchronized military machine fell into confusion. 3 days later, in orbit above the Drax homeworld, an unprecedented meeting took place. The Luminar High Council, represented by their supreme leader, faced the Drax War Director across a conference table. Between them sat Chunho Lee, now promoted to Admiral following his successful mission. "Your empire is defenseless," the Luminar leader stated. "Your ships cannot coordinate. Your weapons cannot target. You have lost." The Drax War Director's face remained expressionless. "Then finish it. Destroy us as we would have destroyed you." Chunho raised his hand. "That's not why we're here." The room fell silent. The virus we deployed doesn't permanently destroy your systems, Junho explained. It can be reversed. The Drax War director's eyes narrowed. Why would you tell us this? Why not ensure our extinction? Because humans understand something neither of your species seem to grasp, Junho said. The true strength of civilization isn't in its ability to destroy, but in its willingness to show mercy. He activated a holographic display, showing the terms humanity had drafted: peace, borders, trade, cultural exchange, reparations for damaged worlds, but no conquests. This is weakness, the Drax leader said. No, Junho replied. This is wisdom. We could destroy you. Instead, we offer you a chance to build something better. The Luminar Supreme Leader seemed equally confused. After all they've done, after millions of your people died. Those millions died to protect billions, Junho said. Their sacrifice would be wasted if we simply continued the cycle of destruction. 6 months later, on a rebuilt space station orbiting Earth, representatives from 27 species gathered for the first meeting of the Interstellar Council. At its center stood a memorial, a statue of the ESS Defender and Admiral Minji Park. Dr. Taho Kim, now Earth's diplomatic representative, watched as former enemies sat together, discussing shared problems and solutions. They still don't fully understand us, he said to Junho, who stood beside him in formal dress uniform. They're learning, Junho replied. The Drax actually asked me yesterday why humans value individual life so highly. They're curious now, not just calculating. And the Luminar, they've started changing too. Their newest ships have escape pods for the first time in their history. They're learning that survival at any cost isn't the only value worth holding. Across the cosmos, stories spread about the strange species from Earth, how they fought with unexpected ferocity when needed, but chose peace when possible, how they valued sacrifice for others above self-preservation, how Admiral Park had given her life to save millions of strangers. As the council session began, representatives from worlds that had been at war for generations sat together beneath Earth's new motto, displayed in multiple languages above the chamber. We reach for the stars not to conquer them, but to connect them. Junho took his seat at the table. The scars from the mission to the Drax world still pained him sometimes, but they were worth it. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or victims, but as teachers of a lesson the cosmos desperately needed to learn. That true strength comes not from destruction, but from the courage to choose a better path. The end.